This is actually really awesome news. Who here is still anticipating Ascent Infinite Realm? Mrs. Stix and I both played through the closed beta of the South Korean and the Thai versions of the game when they were currently running, and there was a lot of needed improvement. Graphically, the game looked great, but performance was very poor, the character animations were clunky, and the combat was tab target, and not the fun, well-designed kind. No joke, a lot of improvements needed to be made on this game, and the developers actually realized this. So after a lot of feedback from players, Bluehole felt that it'd be better to, instead of releasing the game in the form that they had been testing for the past, I don't know, year, they would take the time to reflect on the feedback that they received and attempt to make a better game. And I don't know about you guys, but personally, I feel like this is a step in the right direction. The original Air game was very flawed. Typically, developers don't really take the time to listen to feedback, but I'm guessing Bluehole really want this one to succeed, huh? So in light of this new direction for the game, a brand new name has been revealed. Elyon. In South Korea, the game will run as Elyon Ascent Infinite Realm, whereas it'll remain just Elyon over here in the West. And today I plan on covering everything we know about Elyon, its business model, the kind of combat it's going to have, the world it's going to have, PvE, PvP, literally everything I could find. So make sure you set aside like roughly around 10 minutes so we can get through this and you guys are well informed. The game was initially teased last week with a release date for the information scheduled to come out on April 1st. And you can bet how many people thought this was actually some kind of really elaborate April Fool's joke. And it turns out that it wasn't. So yeah, hype. The South Korean version of Elyon is actually scheduled to go into closed beta on April 11th, with an expected release date in North America and Europe sometime soon. They have every intention on releasing in the West as soon as they possibly can, but their goal right now is to make certain that players located within South Korea are happy with the state of the game. Now, back when Elyon ran under the Air title, it utilized tab target combat. I played days worth of it and yeah, it was really not very good. There have been some great MMOs with tab target combat. Ion, Arcade, and World of Warcraft have all come to mind, but Air? Yeah, yikes, that was not good at all. I actually think I went on to touch on that at one point during one of the videos I did, I can't recall. In Elyon though, they have overhauled the entire combat system and are now claiming it utilizes non-target dynamic combat, the very same combat that Terra uses. And this is actually fantastic news because Terra actually utilizes one of my favorite combat systems in an MMO to date. And while I haven't really gotten any hands-on time with the game yet, and really I hope I do, it's a safe bet to assume that this will be a more updated version of Terra's combat. Combat isn't the only aspect of the game that was overhauled though. According to the press release, a large portion of the content in the game is being revamped. While there is a large focus on overhauling the combat, they're also aiming at shifting the focus of the game more towards adventure and both faction and individual battles. This is hinting at a focus on PvP, which may or may not be of interest to you guys, depending on whether you enjoy it, I guess. For me personally though, I love PvP, I love faction-based PvP, and I love open world PvP. So large-scale open world faction versus faction battles are going to be an absolute blast. You guys have no idea. I'm not certain what individual battles is in reference to, but I look forward to hearing more. The world itself, along with the lore of the world, have also been altered to fit the new vision of the game. However, it will retain its steampunk setting. Thankfully, as that was honestly one of the largest attractions to the game for me. The last steampunk game I played was, I think, Black Gold, and man, that was a terrible game. This is really exciting news. While the game is currently in the process of accepting beta registration, since it's going to be released exclusively in South Korea right now, the beta test that is, you need a South Korean phone number along with a social security number to apply. Alternatively, you might know a South Korean friend that can apply for you, or heck, you might still have your old Air account information on hand that you can fill out and apply with. I never applied to the Air closed beta myself. I knew people that applied and got accepted that allowed me in using their account. Unfortunately, I don't believe that they have been accepted this time, so I might not be able to get in to obtain footage, but that will not stop me from talking about everything I learned about the game. While they're overhauling the combat system to make it more appealing to this generation of gamer, they're also altering how the skill system works. It's been a while since I touched Air, but currently they plan on dividing skills or at least relocating them into skill trees. This will allow for players to customize the kind of character that they want to play. I don't really know the extent of the customization, but I would honestly honestly love if they went ahead and had both PvE and PvP trees, or talents, or whatever you want to refer to them as. I believe that the separation of skill trees is a good route to take in an MMO because it allows for individual balancing of a single aspect, PvE or PvP, as opposed to mass altering a skill tree and it having an impact on both. This is something that World of Warcraft did very poorly for the longest of times, and I hope that Elyon learns from. We've talked quite a bit about PvP though, haven't we? I mean, Eric was supposed to be a large-scale PvP MMORPG after all, so it's expected that they'd have an emphasis on it even after the overhaul. They've mentioned that the game is going to feature faction and individual battles, and I covered that earlier, but Era was supposed to also feature realm versus realm battles along with instanced arena combat. Now, while the individual battles might actually be referring to the arena, I'm left wondering what happened to realm versus realm, and I'm also curious if the game is still going to provide players with open world PvP opportunities. One aspect of the game though, one that really interested me, was the fact that a lot of it actually took place in the air. Like, you could freely fly around the entire world. Like, yeah, your mount ultimately had stamina, and that stamina depleted really fast. And the whole stamina system for mounts is something that I really loathe in games, but I mean, at the same time, this is probably going to be something that is fixed by purchasing an item from the cash shop, but I digress. You had full aerial combat, allowing you full use of your abilities while flying atop your trusted aerial steed. I hadn't seen this done since I played Perfect World a decade ago. However, they went on to reveal that they would have a significantly reduced focus on aerial exploration, aerial combat, and, well, aerial activities. While I've generally, up till this point, liked the sound of everything the overhaul is affected, I am a little saddened by the news that they're actually reducing the importance of aerial activities so drastically. I mean, heck, you could even tackle world bosses on your mount. Like, there was this trailer released, I think in the last 2 years, that showcased hundreds of different players all grouped together, all engaged in combat with this giant monster up in the skies, giant world boss. It was so cool. Like, what if you end up dying all the way up in the sky? Are you screwed? Will your body just plummet down towards the earth? Will there be faster and slower aerial mounts? And if so, will they play a part in mechanics, since technically you could move out of AoEs or accomplish objectives faster? I don't know, it just provided the opportunity for new ways of tackling content. Air had both traditional multiplayer dungeons and solo single-player dungeons. I thought it was pretty cool, providing players the ability to tackle dungeons solo in the off chance that they just couldn't find anyone to run them with. I know, the foundation of the MMO genre is tied into the multiplayer aspect, but sometimes that just doesn't work. Like, let's use Blue Protocol here as an example. It provides players the ability to group up with several players to tackle a dungeon, with the difficulty of the dungeon scaling depending on how many players join. This means that you're capable of entering a dungeon solo or with 4 people, and it'll be just as difficult regardless of how many people are there. While Air offers just 2 forms, multiplayer or solo, I'm not sure what exactly they have planned for PvE and Elyon. Will they retain the type of dungeon they've planned for originally? Will they opt to change it instead to cater more to players interested in multiplayer interaction and engagement? And more so, what are their plans for raids? We can't have an MMO that has dungeons but not raids, right? I mean, you know, sure, MMOs can go without having dungeons and still be successful. Black Desert has proven that, like, time and time again. But at the same time, if you're going to have dungeons in game, you kinda need to have raids, otherwise you're going to be provided with no form of competitive content to consume at endgame. The only issue I have with Elyon and its overhaul is that it's still being built on Unreal Engine 3 as opposed to Unreal Engine 4. I know an engine overhaul is probably a drastic change that is unrealistic to expect, but the performance was definitely an issue in Air, and if that isn't improved, then this really won't be any better. And honestly, that is pretty much everything we know right now. And of course, there are a few things that I don't know that I threw in there anyway, because honestly, what's the point if we don't kind of use this as a means to strike up a discussion of sorts, right? Kakao are still in charge of publishing the game, just like they published Black Desert Online over here in the West. The game is going into closed beta testing in a little over a week for those of you with access to a South Korean social security number and phone number. The new Elyon overhaul is changing quite a bit of the game, PvE, PvP, it's providing an extension to the skill system, and it's making the game completely action combat. It's unconfirmed currently when we'll end up with a Western release of the game. When we last heard mention of an English closed beta, we were expecting it back in 2019. So while we don't have an ETA, like a 100% confirmed ETA right now, now. So long as the South Korean beta tests go over well, we will likely have a beta test coming up shortly after. With how long they've waited to push this game out, you know they're itching to get us in there so we can start making the money. Now, I believe that the business model will be the same as Air, free to play, as they haven't announced a change in any form. Regardless of whether or not we end up able to play Elyon in some capacity this year, Phantasy Star Online 2 is still confirmed to be coming out on PC this spring, and both the Blue Protocol closed beta and New World launcher right around the corner. Couple of those games with Genshin Impact being a ton of fun and Grand Saga going into closed beta at the end of this year. Yeah, things are looking great for 2020. But this is my opinion, my impression of Elyon and their rebrand going into 2020. What do you guys think though? Let me know down in the comments below and let's talk about it. Anyway guys, that is it for me. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this and I'll see you all next time. Peace.